So this movie just came out on like Monday night. It came out very very late. This is a movie about reality winner who is was an NSA whistleblower who leaked some documents about Russian interference with the 2016 election. She was caught in jail, sentenced to 5 years. She served 4 and it is out on probation now. But this is the story about her. And what's interesting is the way they tell this story is through FBI recordings, because when they went to her house with a search warrant and they interrogated her, interviewed her, and they were recording the whole time. So they have about 2 hours worth of audio, and the entire script is just that audio. And it's Sydney Sweeney as reality winner, and then just a handful of other people, 2 other agents, Agent Garrick played by Josh Hamilton, and Agent Taylor played by Mershant Davis. So it's almost like a play, because there's basically 3 people talking the whole time, and it's really mostly Josh Hamilton and Sydney Sweeney, and it's one of the most uncomfortable movies I've ever seen, because like these are police, like they're FBI, and they just kind of show up as she gets home and she's like trying to take groceries in, and they're like, "Hey, we're here, FBI, with a search warrant." And most people they would freak out about this, and she doesn't, and she just tries to be nice and cooperate. It's one of those things like when you know you're in trouble, and if you think if you're just real nice, it'll go away. But it's so uncomfortable because they also try to be friendly, try to make small talk, but then there's really jarring things when at one point reality goes to her car to take out her groceries, and one of the agents like just dives in front of the door and is like, go, what are you doing? Go, like, get back. Like, so they jump back and forth between being like really friendly and then like acting like the police that they are. And there's just, the conversation is so uncomfortable. You know, they're asking, are there any weapons in the house? Is there anyone in the house? I mean, it's like she could be a big crime lord, and they're trying to get to what happened and if she released these documents and how she did that. So that's kind of our setup. It's a really interesting way of shooting a movie, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would. Zach, what'd you think?
So I was really charmed by this movie. I think it's a lot of fun, actually. I think it is a bummer it won't get like a wider audience, I don't think, because it's a little too niche, and like at times it almost borders on experimental, which I really didn't expect. Like, I didn't know what to get into. Andy said, "Hey, it's 85 minutes. You want to watch it for the podcast?" I was like, "Absolutely." That's not to listen. I need to say this. That's not because we're a fan of short movies here on the show. It's that movies nowadays are so damn long. Like, every week we've been doing a feature this summer. Every movie's like 2+ hours. It's just the way it is now. Start checking your local movie times. Like, movies are getting longer. So it's really refreshing. Like, when something comes out that's like short, biting, like, you know, it's going to be something cool because it's on HBO. It's got an up and coming star, Sydney Sweeney, coming hot off the heels of Euphoria. Like, I don't know, like, it might be neat. And it turns out it is. The movie's directed by Tina Satter, who is a first time director. You look up her IMDb, she's got this, and she was a guest once on, Seth, what's his name? The guy, Late Night with Seth Meyers podcast. That's it. That's all she's done. I know it's based on a play, which is based on the actual situation that happened to Reality Winner, and the play has the same gag. It is exactly the transcript. This is word for word what happened. This is what we've got, and a physical recreation of it. But what's cool about this movie, while on the one hand it sounds like, okay, so NSA whistleblower shows up at her house, and the FBI shows up and says, "Hey, we got questions, right? What does that mean?" Well, what's neat is this movie isn't presented as like Reality Winner is somebody who's done something wrong. It's presented as like almost a hostage negotiation. Like, what do you do when you get home one day and the FBI is at your house and they're just letting themselves in, and they're like, no, stay there. You're not going anywhere. And they're friendly, but like, you're not going anywhere. It's like being held hostage. It's like being kidnapped, like right outside your own home. And there's nothing you can do because it's like fundamentally the power of the government of the country you're in. It presents this really interesting mental game that you're playing, right? Because we know that Reality Winner obviously is a character who's been in the news, who may have served some time for things that she's done, but a lot of people like aren't really familiar with the story. So to get the verbatim situation as it happened, with a cast of characters who are really finely directed from Tina Satter, I can't wait to see what she does next. This girl needs a limited series or something. Like, she's good. they present the story that's like surprisingly engaging in like a very tight timeline. And it's a lot of fun. Like I really liked Reality. It's really not a bad feature. Let's get into it, Andy. Where do you want to start talking about it?
Well, I want to talk about a little bit about the script, and like I said, it's all based on the audio, the 2 hours of audio or so that they have while they're searching her house and she's being interrogated during that whole time. And they kind of keep this interesting by they kind of switch between you hear a recording, the actual recording, then you'll see like the script, the like transcript itself sometimes, and then you get into the actual actors in the movie. So it kind of cycles between these three shots, and it keeps kind of reminding you like, oh, this is like word for word what happened on that day and what they had. And I just thought that was a really interesting kind of approach and kept it really fresh. And there's also parts that are redacted, like, it'll be showing you the transcript and all of a sudden the audio cuts out and it's all black. Same things with on screen when anything's redacted, you kind of get, it almost looks like a glitch because they're not telling you whatever was redacted. So that's something that I thought was really interesting and effective.
Yeah, the redacted segments are the bits that feel like experimental in tone, because they're so great. Like, it's not like the film just jump cuts to the next part of a segment where we're not going to hear what the FBI agents were talking about or what Reality Winner said. Like, it hits you with this like weird tech music sting that's real low, real bassy, and then it just hangs. And like the movie just hangs in silence for a minute, and then it just comes back and just continues where it left off. And it does it a few times, and it's really jarring, and it's a very clever meta reminder that what you're watching is not only real, but like we still don't know. The American people are still not aware of what exactly was said in these moments. Nobody knows. Like, they're redacted. Nobody's going to find out. Like, so we have like functionally an incomplete version of events told in the most complete way possible that very, very quickly like narrows down to a person who is guilty for something that like we have most of the evidence for, right? Like, we're told is the correct way, but I love the way it pushes the boundaries of its titular reality, like both because of her very interesting name, but also because of like questioning what is really understood versus what is perceived. And I think that's really charming, like for a short feature to hit really fast. And a big part of the reason that's possible is because of performances. Like, man, Sydney Sweeney is excellent in this. She's really good as this person who's really meek and backed into a corner, but you can never really get a read on like whether or not she's knows something or doesn't, and you're not really sure where things are going to go. And that plays great opposite. What is his name? Marchant Davis is one of the FBI agents, and more importantly, Josh Hamilton, who is super good in this movie. Josh Hamilton, I couldn't remember where I'd seen him from. He's the dad in 8th grade. He plays outside. He plays the other side of Ellie Fisher. They got that great scene at the end of the movie where she comes in. She's like, "Hey, if I had me as a daughter, like I wouldn't want her around." And he's like, "Whoa, like what are you talking about? Like really sincere and like really great." And that plays really great with these two FBI agents when you can't really get a read on whether or not they know or not, like that she's guilty, what they do and don't know. Like they don't really offer information to her very quickly. So she has to slowly kind of inch it. Like, what are you guys here for? Why do you have a warrant? What are you trying to get at? Like it's this odd cat and mouse game, with like a surprisingly satisfying pace.
Yeah, I was actually really frustrated with them talking with her because again they act like they're your friend and they're not. The police are not your friend. Everyone remember that. They
you heard it on off script, folks.
You
Yeah,
sure heard off script.
Yeah,
yeah, because they keep they're like you just made a mistake. We know you just made it. You're not a Snowden. They kept saying that. They're like she's like, I'm not trying to be.
Yeah,
and she's like, I'm not trying to be a whistleblower. I'm trying to. She's trying to advance her career within intelligence. Reality Winner was a linguist. She knew several Middle Eastern languages and was a translator, and she was trying to get kind of deployed to that area. So she was trying to kind of increase her involvement in the government. But they kind of tease him. They're like, "Oh no, we know you're not a bad person. We know you just made a mistake, and you're not Edward Snowden." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to be Edward Snowden." And I was so frustrated with this because they basically get her to confess, and while they do have a lot of evidence, they don't have all the evidence. But she basically just is like, yes, I did it. Yes, I printed this out. Yes, I sent it to a news source. Um, and she should have just shut up and asked for a lawyer right away. But she doesn't, and they very slowly kind of coerce her into talking more and more. And Sydney Sweeney does this great performance where she basically breaks down, but it takes 90 minutes to do so. Like by the end, she's like, in tears and like kind of crying through her words, but it happens so slowly, like she just slowly, it's like it's agonizing, but it's so effective.
There's this great story from the set of American Psycho, the Christian Bale movie, when Willem Dafoe's character, who is an investigator pursuing like this series of crimes that have been happening in Manhattan, which all lead back to Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale's character, he's questioning Christian Bale's Patrick Bateman. And during the scene, the director, I forget her name, told Dafoe, "Hey, you're going to give me 3 different reads of this scene. We're gonna record it 3 times, and you're going to give me one where you don't know if Patrick Bateman's your guy. So it's a friendly conversation, right? You're going to give me one where like you think it's him, but you're not sure. So it's friendly, but like a bit more conniving. And then you're going to give me one where like you just came from the station, it's him for sure. So like you're nailing into a wall, right? And then when they cut the movie, they used all of those takes in random order functionally, like to get this really like scene where you can't get a read on like the investigator's intention. And they seem like they're all over the place. And this movie is that for 83 minutes. And Andy's right. Like, I don't know how Sydney Sweeney turns up on set and shoots a feature and keeps that emotion continuing to climb for the whole feature. Like, it's really something else. Like, it's a really charming character play. Like, it's a surprisingly engaging script that comes right off the page of a very real situation. Like, I can't believe how much I liked it. It's really simple, but like, dude, sometimes simple is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Reality like might be one of those features. It's really charming. Like, really not a bad time.
Yeah, like I said, as frustrated as I was by the FBI agents and how they treat her and kind of coerce her at the same time, it was very effective because they get her talking. They asked her about, did you ever print anything out, or they ask her a lot of really vague questions, and then they hold all their cards very close. And she keeps trying to like kind of talk her way out of it, or trying to, if I'm just nice and cooperate, they'll leave and it'll be fine. But it doesn't go that way. And but yeah, really effective. And like you said, she's slowly breaking down and realizing that she's like more and more and more trouble. Because at first it just seems like they're gonna maybe do a search and leave, and like but the FBI agents know like she's getting arrested at the end of this.
Yeah, it's very conniving in that way. Like yeah. Like I really would liken it more like a hostage situation. Like, because she's not. Where's she gonna go? Like, what's she gonna do? Who could she call? Like, to help her out of these 2 people who are just at her house, and it's like more guys show up and black SUVs show up for people to get out and search her home. And she's just trying to like keep track of her dog and her cat, and it's just like, well, hold on a second. Like, let me get my life together here. It's very menacing, and like I'm surprised at how well that gets pulled off in like, yeah, a short feature, like shorter than what was expected to be feature length. It's good stuff, man. Like, Reality is not a bad time. Are you ready for recommendations? Any other thoughts?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Reality?
Yeah, I would. It's a nice short little bottle film, 85 minutes. Really strong performances, and if you're into like politics and particularly things like spycraft, which that's always what gets me, is that the kind of cloak and dagger stuff, that how it really happens, and it's just really interesting how this unfolded. And Reality, she gets caught essentially, but her explaining her motivations are very interesting behind this, because she wasn't someone who normally is a whistleblower. Like I said, she was trying to get more involved in her government. She was trying to get, she was ex-military. She was trying to get redeployed, go out to the Middle East. And so it's not the kind of person who would usually do something like this. But I really enjoyed it. It's a quick watch, and it's on Max, the place to go for HBO.
Yes, it is on Max. Would recommend. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, actually. If you're just looking for something like, this is the kind of thing you can just throw on, like if you just need a little something, right? You got a little less than 2 hours. You want to watch something kind of different. You're cruising YouTube and you're bored with all the same video essays, and you're like, I want something, something a little tasty. Like, go check out Reality on Max. Like, it's not a bad time. I wish it would get a bit of a wider audience. I get why it won't. Like, there are parts that are almost experimental. Like, but I think it's surprisingly well put together. I want to see what Tina Satter's doing next. I want to keep up with Sydney Sweeney and, of course, Josh Hamilton. And that is Reality. And that's our show, episode 216, Andy. Another one in the bag. What are we watching next week?
That.
Look at that. How'd we do it? Yeah.
Well, we're swinging into the spider season, the summer season with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,